The world's #1 chess player, Magnus Carlsen, has decided this week in Title Tuesday to let the dice speak for themselves, indicating what opening he should then play. And what did it reveal in this final game, the decider of the early titillating Tuesday on March the 11th? Well, after Praggnanandhaa, a top 10 player in the world, goes pawn e4, Magnus must in response play pawn to h6. This is an online chess game. Winner of this wins the whole tournament, and he only went and invented a brand new chess opening because Praggnanandhaa goes h3 in response just for the lols, right? Magnus brings out the knight, and on move 2 we've got a brand new position, but it just gets better because the pawn kicks on, hits the knight, and now everyone in his chess dog plays knight d5, the Alekhine variation, centralized the pony. But no, Magnus picks it up here and plonks it on a square it has absolutely no right to be on. I mean, the pony has just become a donkey. What's worse than a donkey? A wild ass appears on the board. Absolutely outrageous. And after knight f3, d6 fighting for the centre, supported, Magnus thinks, how can I make this opening just one little bit more smelly? He goes pawn g5, absolutely disgusting. Even Gary down in Nebraska, one of his best students, is puzzled by this break. Unbelievable stuff. We get knight c3, the bishop hits the chocolate slide, this one develops, so does the final pony, and now you could do a number of standard developing moves as white, but Pragg plays this very interesting pawn to e6, allowing that foot soldier to be captured in two different ways. But if you go with the bishop, not played, we've gone to the back cave, then you can chop here, this one recaptures, and you fork the two pieces. White's doing really well. So let's run back to the game. We didn't see that. Instead, Magnus captures like this, because otherwise this was coming anyway, and f6 of course looks horrendous. Now it allows this check. King d7 is the preferred ninja line of the Stocknest monster, but Magnus plays the more human move. Now we see queen d3. This knight re-enters the game a little, but still look at the black monarch. And after bishop d2, bishop d7 snaking its way in, we get the oh. You know what happens at this point. Magnus challenges the bishop, and we actually see a mistake. You should take that one straight away, the bishop on e8. But instead, we see this rook centralizing, hitting this pawn, but it's a mistake, as I'm indicating, because you can play this one, knight b4. You've always got to look at both sides of the board, right? And the idea is you hit the queen, and how does it stay with the defense of the bishop? You know, it can't come here, can't come here. So you have to do this, and you get this, and this, and it is an exchange of minor pieces, but good for Magnus. He gets the bishop pair. White can win a pawn, but king f7, suddenly the rook's connected, they're blasting, there's an attack coming. Typical kind of Magnus play where he turns it around. But okay, not today. He misses that move. He does take on g6, queen recaptures. Now he offers the exchange of the ladies, and yes, you could do this and win a pawn, but how good is that really? You're helping black unravel, materials level, and Magnus's pieces and pawn structure is fine. So we come back, not played, queen d3, good move, keeps the ladies on when you're the attacking side, and now queen f7 is desirable to cover the pawn, but Magnus was worried about this. How do I know? He was streaming the game, right, talking through his thoughts. Now actually there's bishop h6, there's a pin, all gets a bit weird, line goes on. Okay, very dangerous. Apologies for my voice, been struggling lately. Regular viewers will know. Magnus now plays the move of knight to d8, sticking it on the Etienne back row to cover this pawn, but his position's getting really passive, and Pragg pounces with pawn g4. It's an excellent move because it shuts down black ever going g4, prepares pawn to h4. Magnus now goes queen f7, and the best way to continue is prepare h4 with rook hg1, or even bringing this one to the g file, but Praggnanandhaa goes king b1, and Magnus now finds this exceptional move, right? You know, what would you be playing here with the black pieces? Are you going to say knight d5, or maybe a6 to stop this kind of hot plater, or king g8 perhaps? I don't know. Well, Magnus plays king to e8, such a subtle, inconspicuous move, but a brilliant one, because you've cleared a square for the rook to enter the game. Again, white should prepare the h-pawn push, but we see instead the immediate pawn h4 completely sharpens up the game. What does Magnus do? Leans back, picks up his water glass, which looks more like a water vase, right? I mean, usually that's full of Norwegian chrysanthemums, but here it's Magnus's H2O. He clenches his buttocks and takes on g4, closing his eyes, foraying forth, and just praying for the best. The pawn on f2 is under fire. You should cover with the queen, but instead we see rook hg1, hits the knight, and Magnus picks up the second soldier, hits that queen. Obviously has to save itself, and although Pragg is shedding pawns, he's picking up this big attack, big initiative. Magnus can't save the knight. What's his plan here? Well, he could go knight h3 actually, but instead he plays rook f8, you take me, I take you, so rook g3 covers, and now you could go g4, supported by the knight, or take on h4. This is what we see played. Now the knight takes back, and the best move is apparently bishop f6. You know, attack this undefended piece, blah blah blah. But Magnus plays the very natural bishop takes on d4, hitting this, but we've not seen a move that stinky since someone left the herring out overnight at the Saturday Oslo fish market. What's the problem here? Well, you can actually play this incredible move. I'll give you 30 million seconds in case you want to try and find it. The move to play is knight b5, and you're hitting the defender of the knight on f2, and if you drop back here, really natural. Well, now still you can crash through on c7 with check. Bishop's overloaded because after takes, it's not even about trying to win this piece. You can't do it. There's this incredible queen b5 check, and the king's actually mated unless you play this one, but then queen takes on b7, hitting so much stuff. Now king can defend, connects the rooks, but then this one joins the attack. You crash through here. I mean, this is a crazy line, right? Who finds this? This is how the line goes, etc. And white's doing well. You pick up another piece on f2 due to this rook f3 double hit. Let's run back. Pragg missed knight b5, understandably. He plays rook f3, a double whammy, but now queen g7. The knight is still x-ray defended enough times, and now he finds the excellent knight to b5. Hits bishop, hits pawn. Magnus now should drop back and cover the pawn, but he takes on f3. And the best way for Pragg to go here is taking here, check, king goes, but it's actually not about winning the rook. These lines are nuts, right? The move you should play is takes on e6, and now after knight recaptures, you can crash through. This is how the line goes, something like this. And after bishop c5, let's say, white is actually doing well here. Winning the game should be. This one's a bit offside, but we run it back. It was missed once more. No crash through. Instead, we see takes on f3. The bishop drops back to b6, bishop e3, and after Magnus captures, unbelievably, there's only one move here for Pragg to stay in the game, and again it's this crazy tactic of knight takes on c7 check, king here, and now indeed you should take the rook on a8. Knight g4 top line, get out of dodge, defend the bishop, check. This is how the main line goes. Threaten mate, block the way here, something like this. We won't carry on. You know, this is how the game could proceed. Fine, roughly level, but all of it missed. We didn't see takes with check. Instead, the queen captures, and look at Eval Barovic has an absolute meltdown because now knight g4 hits the queen. Don't Botez gambit. Pragg goes for the pawn and the knight, but they're both defended. King d7 from Magnus. This knight centralizes. e6 going to collapse, so the Black Widow spider centralizes. This one now runs away to keep the attacking chances. Magnus insists on the exchange. No siree for you. Knight going to drop. Defended. Now the knight drops back, hits the queen, comes to c4, knight b3, and there's a really interesting moment still to come here, because although Magnus is these pawns up, he's got to consolidate. Rook e4 hits the queen, and Kasparov once said, Magnus has quoted it before, if you keep attacking the enemy pieces enough times, especially in a row, eventually they'll crack. And there's low time at play here. We see queen b5, and now Pragg just goes for it, picks up the pony and sacrifices it on c5, and it's an excellent move. He spawns this seahorse supported by the queen, and it creates this dynamic counterplay. a4 hits the queen now. Whoops, that was a bit of lag. Queen hit, under fire, dropping back to b6. Rook f4 goes for the invasion, and so Magnus backpedals once more. Dad's absolutely ashamed. Why do you keep coming back home? I thought you'd flown the nest, gone to uni, gone travelling. What are you doing back here? Rook f8 hits it, queen d6 defends, and before Magnus can do anything else, these pawns are flying down the board. b6 kicks the knight, queen g2, great intermezzo hitting that rook, and Magnus Carlsen now cracks and makes a mistake. What should he do here? Well, put the queen on d5 to block the way, or check, then do it. But he plays the usually incredible pawn to c ships, and you can see it gets the double question marks. Can you find the tactical shot here? White to play and level the game again. So the way to go, very well done if you saw the move, it's rook takes on d8 check, because if the king captures, you do this, Forktown, population Magnus, game is leveled up, you've got some dynamic play in compensation for the queen. And if you take with the queen here, well now of course the queen crashes through and the rook's actually dropping. Materials back level, roughly, plus the black king's under fire, you know, you're losing your queen. Or if you come this way, you're actually getting checkmated. Queen and knight, always a very epic attacking force. Let's run it back, because that wasn't spotted. Pragg backpedals with the knight here. Magnus breathes a sigh of relief. King c7 connects all the bits. Queen e4. This rook centralizes a little more. a5 tries to rip open lines, but Magnus now fianchettos the knight. You don't see that every day. This rook stays on the board, takes his played. Queen h7, trying to bamboozle, but just top quality cheese master defense. Rook to d8, have the pawn, but now I can block the way, force the pieces off the board. You know, you can't go here. Queen drops, so we see takes, queen recaptures. This pawn does drop, but e5 defends the knight, and of course you're running the pawn, currently supported. Now we see takes, knight recaptures, and although you don't want material to leave the board, Pragg's just got to crash through here. Get this one off, go for the perpetual check stuff, maybe more, although that's a bit of an outlandish thought. Now we see check, c5, more checks, but the knight, what a defender of the king. Now it's Magnus's turn, and he goes to town, shuts in the white king, which runs to the corner, and here comes Alberta the a-pawn. No clue why it's called that. Look at the defense the knight does, by the way. No checks from the queen. a4, the explosive c4 comes, but it's Pragg king which is imploding now. a3 shuts the trap, and what to do here? There's nothing. You can't even go for this stale meat trap by taking here with check, because after king recaptures, the king does indeed have a square, and then you shut the trap on the chair, kill that king, derail it from its throne. The Game of Thrones is over for the White King. The Iron Throne is ceded. This is how the game ended, and Magnus went on to win Title Tuesday with the best tiebreak. What an incredible tournament it was. Hope you enjoyed. Sorry again that I've got a frog in my throat. Hopefully I'll be on the mend soon. And thanks a lot for watching. Have a look on the video on screen for more epic chess. Cheers.